All right, so it seems like we're shifting gears really jaggedly as we move into chapter 3. So, as I mentioned when we wrapped up chapter 2, we're not just talking about, terms with like functions with an x cubed or something in them now. We're actually shifting gears and looking at something that doesn't really seem like it's connected at all. I promise it is. Give me some time, we will get there. But for now, we're going to start talking about what mathematicians call matrices. So I always feel obligated. So the singular of that is matrix. So I feel obligated to make a joke about knowing kung fu, or maybe I should have worn like a black trench coat when I was, talking about this. It basically tells you that I grew up during the 1990s, right? Anyway, so a matrix is really just kind of a fancy word for arranging some numbers into a rectangular array or shape. So the Moodle Notes file gives sort of the generic example with these like subscripted entries into this matrix we call A. We usually use capital letters to refer to a matrix. It might feel a little more concrete if I give you an example that isn't quite so abstract with all of these placeholder variables. So let's look at this guy. So I know, super original, right? So the matrix consists of the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this kind of pattern. All right, so when we talk about these things, we will often refer to the entries of a matrix. An entry is just one of the numbers inside the matrix. I might also call it an element, so be advised if I slip. You'll also talk sometimes about the rows and the columns of the matrix. So for our purposes here, we often use those words kind of interchangeably in like real world settings. I'll talk about rows of desks or something in a classroom. For the purpose of talking about a matrix, it is very specific. Rows run horizontally, like so. So in this instance, this matrix has 2 rows because we've got 2 horizontal lines of numbers. Columns run vertically, 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 columns in this instance. So this matrix has 2 rows and 3 columns. We'll often refer to the size or maybe the dimensions of a matrix like so. Number of rows by number of columns. We don't multiply these together. Don't say it's a 6 matrix. It's 2 by 3. So like a piece of lumber. I don't think 2 by 3 is an actual whatever. So we get a 2 by 3 matrix here. If we wanted to isolate a single entry in the matrix, you'll usually use a lowercase version of whatever letter is representing the matrix. So we could have M21, something like that. So that indicates that we would go to this, this is a counter of rows, then columns. So we want what's in the second row and the first column. 1, 2 rows, first column, it's this guy right here. So note that again, the order will in fact end up making a difference here because M12, if we flip those guys around, now we stay in the first row, but we move down to the second column. So we stay up here, 1, 2 columns. So, all right. So that's how we peg out individual entries, in a matrix if we need to refer to them for something, and we will from time to time. All right, so we've got a bunch of lingo leading into this about, matrices being equal to each other. So 2 matrices are equal if they have the exact same entries. That also requires them to be the exact same size. So if you have like just some extra stuff off to the side here for some other matrix, we wouldn't say that M and whatever this other guy is are equal because they're not the same size. So it also says that if our number of rows and our number of columns matches, we call the matrix square. So this guy's not square because we have 2 rows, 3 columns. If I hide that guy, the shape sort of ends up telling you it's a square. I'll often kind of refer to this as like a short and stout matrix as opposed to like a tall and skinny matrix if it flips the other way around. So that's a thing. One other thing on this front page that I wanted to address terminology-wise, it does describe what we call the transpose of a matrix. We're not going to need it all that often, but when we do, it's pretty handy. We basically just exchange the rows and the columns of a matrix. Rows become columns and vice versa. So the notation for that has this sort of weird like subscripted T. I promise I'm not raising the matrix to the T power. That's just the notation we use. So the idea is this guy was short and stout, he becomes tall and skinny because I take this first row and turn it into the first column. 1, 2, 3. And similarly, the second row becomes the second column. 4, 5, 6. And again, you can note now we have 1, 2, 3 horizontal rows and only 2 vertical columns. Yeah, so the transpose matrix, the size of the transpose matrix is just going to be, sort of the reflection, if you will, the swap of the dimensions or the size of the original matrix. Okay, so there's a couple of examples here that we're going to end up, talking about by the time it's all said and done. So we've got some matrix operations. We talk about adding matrices together, multiplying matrices by a scalar. It's a scalar multiplication. That's just a fancy math word for constant or number. So looking at those example matrices, I'm not going to write all 3 of them up here. You've got them on the notes file in front of you. You've got the matrices A, B, and C. Now, it's worthwhile to point out, because the very first thing it asks is which of these matrices are square. That kind of requires us to identify the sizes of each matrix. So if we look at that thing, so our matrix A is, if you look at it, it's got 3 horizontal rows. And then if you count the vertical columns, you have 4. So A is a 3 by 4 matrix. You look at the matrix B coming after it, same deal. Like I said, again, I'm taking for granted you've got the example, the example problems from the notes file sitting there in front of you. B also has 3 rows and 4 columns. When you get to C in the back, it's short 1 column. It still has 3 rows, but it only has 3 columns. So from what we've seen, this is the only one of the 3 we've been given that is actually a square matrix. A and B, they're like we described the first one. They're short and stout. So the next thing that ends up coming up here, it says, what is entry B24? So if you have, B24, we described this previously. The lowercase b means we want to look in the B matrix. And remember, the numbering is first row, then column. So we look in row 2, and then slide all the way to the 4th column, which is actually the very end. So we go to the very end of that second row of numbers, and we get -8. So again, doing a little bit with just playing around with sizes, identifying these things. All right, so now, coming into the operations that come up here, we talk about scalar multiplication. You can always do that, and it works in element by element, or entry by entry. So if you wanted to, if you had 2 times a matrix, you take each individual entry in the matrix, multiply it by that number. Addition of matrices, you can't just add any pair of matrices together. That's different from what we're used to dealing with numbers. I give you any pair of numbers. It may take you a bit if it's got a lot of digits, but you can add them together, right? Matrices don't work the same way. They don't play by the same rules. Not every pair of matrices can be added together. If you look at the handout, it says matrices can only be added together if they are the exact same size. So looking down at our things here, it says find A plus B if it's defined. Find A plus C if it's defined. Well, A plus B, these guys are in fact the same size. These numbers match up exactly, so we can add them together. We cannot do A plus C. Looking at these sizes, they are not in fact the same, right? So I guess I'm skipping around a bit here. We'll see why eventually. But so for blank D, A plus C is not defined. I prefer undefined or not defined. Don't say it doesn't exist. But yeah, that's kind of the shorthand for that. We have no way to do that operation. All right, so there are a bunch more examples here where we do these, scalar multiplications and stuff. And you look at the notes, it says if you do these additions, if you do this addition or you do this scalar multiplication, it goes entry by entry. So what I wanted to do instead, I actually want to come down and look at the example that follows the ABC stuff. It also kind of ties into that notion of 2 matrices being equal to each other. So in this example here, we've got the following: 3x, y, z. So we've got 3 variables, which may be a little scary. It's okay, I promise. Plus 2 times 2x minus y, 3y, negative 4z. And then over on the other side here, I was just making sure I hadn't walked off what the camera was showing me. 14, 4 minus y. It's got the parentheses. That's just to make sure you don't kind of bleed those together. 18, 15. And the idea is we want to find values for x, y, and z if they exist so that this equation ends up working out. So here's my idea. I'm going to go ahead and do the scalar multiplications here on this side. So for this first guy, we got that 3 out front. Each of the 4 numbers inside this matrix is going to get multiplied by 3. So 3x, 3y, 3y, 3z. Okay, so yeah, that's scalar multiplication. Same thing here. Each of the 4 things in this matrix, they all get doubled. So 4x, negative 2y, 6y, negative 8z equals, and we haven't touched anything on the other side of this equal sign yet, right? So 15, 4 minus y. Now, to add these guys up, the matrices have to be the same size. Good news, though, they are, because they're each 2 by 2 square matrices. So I'm just going to do the addition over on this side. So I add entry by entry. 3x plus 4x. That gives me 7x. 3y plus a negative 2y is just y. 3y plus 6y, 9y, and then 3z minus 8z is negative 5z. Okay. So now, in order for these matrices to be equal, we can sort of cut out this middleman here. And we can say, this matrix being equal to this guy, it's only true if each pair of entries matches up, which basically ends up giving us relatively painless equations. So we have 7x up in the top left corner equals 14, y equals 4 minus y, 9y equals 18, and negative 5z equals 15. Okay, now, each of those is just a 1 variable equation. You might get worried that y shows up twice. It turns out you can pick either one and you end up getting the same y value out of them. So this is only true if x is 2. This one is also only valid if y is 2. And then lastly here, we get z needs to be 15 divided by negative 5 is negative 3. So those are my values for x, y, and z that I need in this instance. All right? All right. Now, you might end up wondering, Professor Carroll, why did you jump over all of the easier ones with numbers and jump to this harder one with the variables? So as it turns out, for big matrices, doing these entry by entry additions or multiplications, it's really tedious to do by hand. We'll talk more about that, in the next video. I'm getting short on time. But as it turns out in practice, generally when we do most matrix operations, we had to use it in this case because we didn't really, we can't, the technology we've got doesn't really handle variables all that well. But if you're just dealing with straight numbers, it turns out letting your calculator or your spreadsheet software or whatever do the number crunching for you is generally superior. And we'll take a look at that next time.